And we are live. Welcome back to the LFC Transfer Room YouTube channel, Twitter and Facebook. Let us know where you're joining from. If you are over on the Twitter, and I know there will be loads of you over there, make sure to come over to the YouTube. I'm sure we'll post a link underneath, Jack, if you want to do that as well. If actually no, you can't do that. I will do that. But anyway, we are joined by Jack. How are you, mate? You good?
I'm doing all right. Yeah, it's been a nice Tuesday where I'm at. So that weather's been getting a bit warmer. It was cold for a while, a bit warmer. So I'm having a good time.
Yeah, and we've got a fellow American in Drew. How are you, mate? Are you good?
I'm doing good, Chris. It's nice sunny out in Los Angeles, and USA won a big game versus Mexico the other day, so international break going fine for us.
We don't mind. I mean, I think I've had a good vibe this international break. I don't know what it is. And talking of internationals, Wales are currently playing, and Owen's got it on in the background. How are you, mate? Are you good? Are you enjoying the game so far?
Yeah, well, it's 1-0, so not really, to be honest with you. But yeah, I'm doing all right.
Excellent. That's good. That's good to hear. So as you've seen, before we get into it, we'll make sure you subscribe to the channel. We are on 1,530 subscribers, so we want to get to 1,600. I don't think that's too much to ask until the end of the year. Especially not if we've got some more people over. I've just posted the YouTube link on the Twitter, so make sure you join over there. Get your comments in. I can bring your comments up like that. It's all very, very nice and cool. Anyway, we're going to start with some good news, boys. It's not been often that we've had good injury news. But Drew, how positive were you when you saw Sadio Mané pictured in training today?
Very positive. I was wondering if we'd need to rely on Divock Origi to come in and have another big performance, but I feel we're in much safer hands with Sadio Mané, Jota, and Mo Salah in the lineup. So, the best news to hear that he's in training and in contention against Arsenal, because he also loves a goal against Arsenal.
I mean, all of our guys do, don't they? I mean, Firmino's got history against them, even though he's out until mid-December. Sadio Mané loves a goal. Mo Salah loves a goal against Arsenal as well. Owen, I'm assuming you were similarly happy to see Sadio Mané back on the training field.
Yeah, absolutely buzzing. Obviously, Firmino's out injured as well, so we didn't need any more injuries in that position. As Drew said, our front three seem to love a goal against Arsenal, so bring it on Saturday.
Yeah, and Jackie boy, I mean, Aliou Cisse said, the Senegal manager, that it was only precautionary, their substitution, but I still personally wasn't as positive. It's just a bit of a relief to have him back, especially, we're not maybe relying on the likes of Taki or Divock Origi.
Yeah, I think I'm more optimistic about their ability to contribute than others are. I always like when they're able to kind of come have a good performance every now and then, but you can't rely on them for so many matches, because you mentioned Firmino out till mid-December. He'll need a little bit to get reacclimated. You're going to be missing, obviously Mané and Salah in January for a good chunk of a good few matches there. So really, these guys are going to have to play a lot, Minamino and Origi. But always the less you can see of them, the better, because then you kind of spread out their little bits of magic more in the fewer moments, rather than having more large moments of barren, poor performances. I guess is the way I would say it.
I suppose, yeah. I mean, we've always known Divock Origi is a bit of a streaky player, and hopefully he can get on a streak when the boys are away for AFCON. I mean, we'll talk about the Firmino injury. Obviously, he went off against Atletico Madrid, and in the Champions League game, came on and came off. I mean, I personally wasn't as optimistic as getting him back from mid-December, so it kind of came as good news to me. Was it good news to you?
Yeah, kind of, because obviously AFCON coming up, we could not afford to lose Firmino. We need absolutely everybody non-African fit. It's simple as that, really. When Salah, Mané, and even Naby Keita, who's been a huge part of the squad really this season, he's going to be going as well. So yeah, definitely, we need as many players fit as possible. Jota, Firmino, and then who else is going to be in there? Is it going to be Origi, Minamino, Elliott even coming back from injury now, seen him in training. So yeah, it's very interesting to see who will be there.
Yeah, how optimistic are you about Harvey Elliott, Jack, and his return? I mean, when he got his injury, I was fearing the worst, to be honest. Yeah. I was thinking, like, this could be a year and a half, like, bad. But It looks like he could be back either just after the start of the year. I think the quote was that they'd be hopeful for plenty of games before the end of the season from David Lynch.
Yeah, no, I think that when I saw it, I was thinking that's season over. So to even have him in the new year is an unbelievable boost. Like that's just shot in the arm. And I think that it's just gonna help us with our depth, obviously. And I think having him return could just alleviate. We don't want to throw too much pressure onto him because he's so young, obviously. But you think about he can come back potentially when the AFCON players are gone, like Owen mentioned, Naby Keita, him not being there. If you have the creative presence from midfield of Harvey Elliott, that could kind of change the way that you maybe play, maybe a bit less reliant on your forwards to be as productive. So I think that to see him on the pitch, it's obviously great progress. And I think that if he's to make contributions this year, you want this to happen as early as possible. So to see him moving around the way he's moving around is great. I'm not rushing him back in the slightest. I think that we've got enough in the midfield for now, at least, to hold off. Another one or two injuries, maybe we're saying, Harvey, how quick can you get back? But really, I think that it's obviously positive signs.
Yeah, I do see that plenty of you are over watching us on the Twitter right here. But if you do want to come and interact, please come and comment on the Twitter, not on the Twitter, on the YouTube. Come over to the YouTube as well and come and subscribe to us as well. That's what we would love to hear. Drew, on Harvey Elliott, I think his biggest importance could be covering multiple positions. And do you think that will be a reason why Jurgen Klopp will be ecstatic to get him back?
I'm most excited to see him back in the midfield, just for his creativity. I feel like that's a position that we've been lacking over the years, ever since Coutinho. No, Coutinho would sometimes play in on the left, but he'd drop in the center, and Harvey Elliott just looks like he's able to carry the ball, beat defenders, put in a brilliant cross, or slide the forward players through. So I think he can play anywhere. I know he's played on the wing before, so it'll be nice to have that cover, but I want to see him in creative midfield because those first 3 games, he looked amazing. And was it Jordan Henderson and Fabinho? Like that midfield 3 looked really, really like smooth and firing. And on the injury note as well, I just want everyone as fit as possible because I can only imagine the kind of drain on the locker room with players out when you're just like, oh, there's like 5-6 dudes missing, as opposed to like a bubbly, boot room or people are in training, everyone's fit and happy, as opposed to like, oh man, like looking around and seeing some of your best mates traveling or training on their own or not even out on the pitch. So everyone fit as soon as possible, and Harvey Elliott, making that next surge from youth to first team player.
Yeah, he's just been fantastic, and yeah, talking of another youth prospect, Jack, Curtis Jones could be missing another couple of weeks, according to the Liverpool website, with an injury to his eye. Apparently, he doesn't need to be exacerbated because otherwise he could seriously have an issue there. How worried are you about Curtis Jones's just his fitness and how much he'll miss? He'll be a big miss for the side.
Obviously, he's a huge miss, and his development will be slowed down a tiny bit because I think he's got absolutely unreal potential. But I think that eyes are a weird injury. It's not very often do you have to encounter that, and I have to imagine it's tough to deal with because like you need to see to be able to play this.
Cheers, Jack.
Very well.
Thanks for your analysis.
Yeah, great contribution, great bit of analysis from me there. But I just think that you don't want to be messing around. 100%. You always say you don't want to rush a player back. Don't want to do this. If you mess up your eye really badly going long term, that really impacts, every facet of your life, not just on the pitch. So 100%, I understand the slowing down of that, but I think that it is just one less option for the midfield. He's got that ability from him. We haven't really seen Ox has kind of showed glimpses of it, being able to get that goal scoring presence. Keita obviously has been doing a great job. Henderson has his moments, but Curtis really has it in him. Just the moment of magic to turn something on its head from the midfield. That's a very nice presence to have. So I think that is what we'll miss the most, is that those, like the Brentford match, where it's just not going too well for you and he just pulls something out of thin air. That kind of magic you miss, obviously, all the time. So I think that, again, I'm perfectly fine. Make sure his eye's okay. You want to be able to have him see. But it's obviously going to be, there's no doubt that it's a big loss.
Jones brings it inside. Have a shot, son. Oh, what a goal! What a goal, Curtis!
That's what Curtis Jones can do to a man. That is what Curtis Jones can do to a man.
I don't know if you're going to play that. That's a classic.
Absolutely classic. Unbelievable. And what a goal it was. And you know, another man who has been a big miss is James Milner, almost twice Curtis Jones' age, but he's still got some importance, Owen. And it'll be good to see him back. Obviously, he's been back in training today.
Yeah, 100%. James Milner is one of the most important players in the Liverpool team. That I've said it. And I think I've heard you say in a stream somewhere that Milner will leave at the end of the season. I personally cannot see that happening. He has to stay for another year at least, because it's not what he does on the pitch, it's behind the scenes and in the changing room. And the effect he has and the leadership he brings to the team is just enormous. I think none of us can really see the impact that he literally has on this Liverpool team. And not only that, he's a really good player as well, I think. Always does a job, always gives 100%. So yeah, he's definitely a really, really big player to have back in that team, fit and firing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was pictures of him down at the youth team, Drew. Do you think that there's been murmurs around the club this week about him potentially taking up a coaching role? Do you think that's an avenue he should go down?
I'd love to have him at the club. Like Owen said, I think what he brings behind the scenes is just vital. I mean, to have a player who burst onto the scene at 16 years old at Leeds and has had a career that's longer than some players' lives, like, invaluable. And I think Liverpool really has the setup where the youngsters will look up to them, not it doesn't seem like there's too many celebrities who care more about their image than their game at the club, which is what I love about Liverpool. But yeah, keep Milner in the club for as long as possible in whatever role, just not right back.
A lot of people have said he could go back to Leeds. I don't know what I'll stay with you, Drew, first for your thoughts on this. I personally can never see that happening, purely because of the high intensity of Marcelo Bielsa's game. And James Milner is 36. He can run for days, but he is 36 and he's starting to pick up injuries now. Can you see that happening? Or do you think he will stay at Liverpool, as Owen said, for another season, or go into a coaching role maybe?
I think he'd stay in for another season. Like the Leeds, I'm wondering if that's just rumors, like nostalgia, like, oh, he'll go back to his, his boyhood club, because I don't know if he really feels like he needs to prove himself, or does he just want to keep playing? That's the only thing. But it doesn't, how old is he? 36 now?
Yeah.
Does he really want to just keep playing and keep stretching out his playing career, or would he rather transition into, something longer term like coaching at Liverpool? Because he's, Liverpool's, I'm pretty sure that's the longest time he stayed at one club, right? Maybe Aston Villa, but he's really built a home at Liverpool, and I'd love to see him further that. And coaching seems like the right thing. So I don't know. The Leeds thing just seems like a nostalgia rumor post from some website that needs to create content for the day.
I mean, you're speaking to the right man there. That's all I do. We'll go on to some left back talk. Because it's a big popular topic around the club at the moment as well. Jack, Kostas Tsimikas or Andy Robertson. Now, Andy Robertson picked up a little bit of an injury, we're talking about injuries today. It's another injury. This time, it's obviously in the game against Denmark for Scotland, which he came out and clapped the team, so maybe he's okay. But do you think it's an opportunity now? I hate to say it like this because I saw some people were celebrating Robertson getting injured just so Tsimikas could get a chance. But do you think it is genuinely an opportunity for Tsimikas?
Of course it is. Yeah. I mean, I think what we've seen from Klopp is that he obviously plays players that he trusts, and he trusts Robertson to the highest extent. And that's very valid. He's played with him for multiple years. He knows his game. He knows what he can bring. And Tsimikas is still developing into his trust with Klopp. He was in his basement for the entire year. People love that term.
And injuries.
Obviously, so he had an entire season where he's been trying to find his way in. He's still finding his footing amongst the club. He's clearly a favorite amongst the players. But now I think that he's gotten a lot of his opportunities based on not opportunity is a poor way to phrase it, but not due to his own contributions, but to the fact that Robertson's been unavailable. Like he had his great first few matches this year by stepping in for Robertson when he was out, and then he kind of maintained, lost his place, especially for that Chelsea match in the first few of the season. So I think that and it's very important that you don't overwork Robertson. You got to rotate. I think what we've seen is this season we've had some small injuries picked up because you've been overworking guys. This is an opportunity for Tsimikas. I think that Arsenal's a great match for him to play. They're actually probably going with Tierney at left back. They're probably going to try and attack on that left-hand side. That's where they have a lot of their attacks developed from. So Trent is probably going to have to be a bit more defensive. So having a great attacking outlet on the left could kind of be a nice change of pace for Liverpool. I think it's just a tremendous opportunity. I really want to see him continue to do well. He was great against Kosovo for Greece. So no reason why he should not be starting, especially if Robertson isn't at full fitness.
Oh, 100%. And you know, it did take an injury for Trent Alexander-Arnold to get his opportunity. There was a debate at one time, Owen, that Trent and Klein could battle for a long time, and we've seen the emergence of the best left back in the world. It did take an injury for Andy Robertson to get his opportunity on Alberto Moreno, and we're saying this, you know, unironically. This is fact. I mean, could this be the emergence of another great fullback for Liverpool?
Yeah, definitely. I think you just mentioned Klein there. That feels like a lifetime ago now, doesn't it? Really, I can't believe it's 5 years ago. It's crazy. But yeah, definitely, Tsimikas. He needs to take his opportunities, and so far he's done just that. Robertson, look, he's set massively high expectations over the last few years. Been the best left back in the world, so we can't really go too harsh on him, I don't think. But at the same time, he hasn't been good enough this season, and in a team like under Jurgen Klopp, you have to be 100%. And Tsimikas, yeah, if he can take his opportunity now with Robertson not playing well, then who knows what could happen? He could lodge Robertson in his position, and I definitely think he can do, because from what we've seen, attacking wise, he's just as good, and defensively, I'm not sure if he's quite there yet, but he's got age on his side and definitely can be there in the future.
He's certainly better defensively than Alberto Moreno ever was.
100%.
That's not even a question. I don't think I've ever seen a man so positionally inept in my entire life. But Drew, I mean, what are your thoughts on the Tsimikas and Robertson situation? Do you think it's a real chance now for Kostas to cement his place while Robertson is out injured?
He's definitely got to take the shot. I don't want any player playing second fiddle or being happy with just, chilling on the bench and playing the odd game. I'd want to see everyone fighting for a first team. Helps for the competition and helps bring out the best. We know Andy Robertson hasn't been at his best for every game this season, but also I wouldn't just throw him away just now. I know Owen said that he's been the best, left back in the world, or at least one of them, the past few years, and he's only 27. So unless this will be an American reference, so I don't know if it will go over most people's heads, but Jack will know what I'm talking about. Unless he's got the yips like a Chuck Knobloch, where he just loses his game and there's no coming back. Andy Robertson's in his prime, and I wouldn't throw him out of the way just yet, but I definitely want to see Tsimikas make Klopp have a hard decision to make for the games going forward.
I want to kind of follow up on that, and it does, the competition, it really will bring the best out of both players. Robertson cannot play 50, 60 matches a year at the current rate that he has been playing, because if he keeps on doing that, he will burn out a lot faster than he would. It's same thing with the forwards. You got to bring in some quality backup, because you will elongate the careers of Mané, of Salah, of Firmino, by having them be fit and managing every burnout aspect of the game, fit both physically and mentally. So having a guy who's driven and willing to be that backup is very, very important. Vitally important.
I think the best example of burnout comes in Wayne Rooney's form. Started at 16, played every single game for Everton and Man United for 15 years, was probably past his best by the time he was 30. And we're seeing now players like Mo Salah, Sadio Mané coming into their prime when they're 30, and it's young for a footballer now. And that's why I think, Pep has got it perfectly well with Phil Foden. I keep using this example. You have to use these players sparingly and well. And I think with Tsimikas and Robertson, you've got two fullbacks who are more than capable of playing for 99% of teams in the world now. I don't know if you boys agree with that. I mean, you got with Chelsea, they've rotating Chilwell and Alonso, Owen. people are saying we keep on having to be like these teams. Are we not already like that?
Yeah, I love that this season that we can do that and rotate. I think it's something that we haven't ever really been able to do, well, at least for a long, long time. And going back to Robertson as well, I think it has to be mentioned he's played every single game for Liverpool and Scotland. It's like the international break. He's not even getting a break there. He's playing it flat out, trying to help Scotland to get to the Euros or the World Cup. So, yeah, it's definitely great to have competition for places and to kind of take pressure off the players and not overwork them. In the forward areas, we can't really do that at the minute because we've kind of got 3-4 standout world-class forwards. But that's definitely something that I hope we can do next season or in the January transfer window, maybe. Who knows what we could bring in then.
That's a very good segue, mate, because we're going to get talking on to transfers now. Drew, rumours coming out today that from El Nacional that Liverpool are rivaling Barcelona for their academy graduate, Dani Olmo, who currently plays for RB Leipzig. Many have touted him as the next Roberto Firmino. What can you tell me? And do you think Liverpool should sign him either in January or in the summer?
I'd say any midfielder who's got talent right now, we should get him in the squad. Especially, I think Dani Olmo, just checked, he's 23 years old. So that seems right around the perfect age for FSG and for the club. Like, I remember him having a pretty good Euros and exciting prospect at 23. You know, RB Leipzig is, RB Leipzig. It's a great club. We've poached from them before, and Bundesliga is a league that I'd like to be picking up players from because I think it's got enough physicality and enough pace in it to at least be a stepping stone for the Premier League. And yeah, Dani Olmo's center attacking mid. We've talked about it before on the show where, we're not sure if Oxlade-Chamberlain will stay. I'd love to see him stay. I love his personality in the locker room as well. I know, Chris, you're a fan, but if Dani Olmo comes in, somebody would probably have to go. But I'd like to see him in the club for sure.
Jack, what are your thoughts on Dani Olmo? I'm sure we'll get some statistics on him from you in maybe a video soon. Hint. What are your thoughts? Do you think Liverpool should be looking to bring in a player of his profile?
This is gonna be very interesting. I guess look back. I haven't looked at any of his stats, so when I look at these stats, maybe I'll have an entirely different perspective of him. But just his bio, what he is. 23, 24 is exactly the age Liverpool have proven that they want to buy, and it loops back to the lack of burnout. You want to get guys who are hungry, who have not been around the block, who have kind of are waiting for their next step up, and you kind of pull them up and you develop them, and you, instead of buying a ready-made guy at 26, 27, or like a young wonder kid, you get the kind of the middle ground where it's a really good price. I don't know how much you would be if you can illuminate me on that, Chris.
I think the rumor is about 50 million euros.
That is not terrible for a guy who's got a good deal of experience, as Drew mentioned, the Euros. He's been around really big Champions League runs for Leipzig. And I think he's got the profile of that versatility, the Firmino role, where he could be able to be a guy who can drop deeper, kind of bring the wingers up higher in the pitch, and more centrally. So I think that it makes sense. It's a very Liverpool-esque buy. I think it'd be very smart for January because he would fill a couple of holes that exist. And I'm not sure if it would be Ox that would go because we are right on the edge, I think, of like the homegrown. As bringing in a Spanish guy, kicking out an English guy would be kind of interesting with that. But I think it makes sense. Will we have the money for? Will we pull the trigger? I'm not sure. I think Adeyemi makes more sense from what I've seen, but I'm really interested in what happens.
Owen, do Liverpool need to stick with this sort of false nine sort of system? Is it something that you'd like to see us divert away from? Because I think Olmo personally would be the perfect candidate that's not Kai Havertz. For a false nine role. But what do you think?
We don't have to stick with a false nine, but I think Klopp will want to and kind of morph it into. I think with José it's interesting because we kind of morph it into something in between where it's not an out-and-out number 9, but at the same time I wouldn't really call him a false nine either. So I don't know whether it would be like that. Just mentioned there, 15 million euros. Before you said that, I was just thinking, how much is he going to cost? Because we know FSG and kind of their reluctance to spend money. 15 million. I've heard very, very good things from him. So I definitely buy him for 15 million. It sounds like a bargain to me.
50, yeah.
50?
15
Oh, I
million.
thought you said 15. Oh, then it's different then, isn't it? But 15 million, yeah, take him like 100%. 50, yeah. Then that's a more difficult one. But
I was gonna say, I'll take a lot of people for 15 million.
yeah, I was going to say, like, where's the reluctance come from? Like, just no brainer.
Yeah. But I think, you know, a lot of people have mentioned big fees in the winter window for the likes of Danny Olmo and Jared Bowen, and a player who has caught some eyes recently in the international break is Nico Williams. Now, he's been playing at left back for the Welsh national team, as well as playing in a further forward role for Liverpool this season. Owen, as a Welsh supporter, I'm going to come straight back to you. Does he have a future at Liverpool, but not a right back?
Just before you say that, it's 1-1 now, so I'm actually buzzing. But yeah, Keith Moore, I believe. Solid, but yeah, Keith. Nico Williams. Sorry, back to him. Yeah, I think if you watched the Belarus game the other day, he was unbelievable at left wing back. I know it's not a particularly strong opposition, but still, he trying to make things happen. And I think definitely we want to see him more advanced. I saw things on Twitter the other day saying he can morph into like Gareth Bale type player, which I wouldn't go as far to say as that, but definitely I think something similar could happen for sure. And but it's obviously different because we play a weird system where we can't really play midfielders, left midfielders, or right midfielders, more wingers, inverted strikers, whatever you want to call it. So I don't know if Nico Williams would kind of fit that sort of position, but whether you want to move Salah up front and kind of tweak it, but I don't know what would happen there.
See, I'm in the opinion that why can't he be the next Gareth Bale? Because if you look at Jack, right, listen to me right now. If you'd have said that Gareth Bale would have ended up being this world-class footballer back in 2009, you'd have got laughed out of town. You know, he was this dodgy fullback, unlucky, clearly had talent. Same with Nico Williams, right? Exactly the same profile. Why can't he be the next Gareth Bale? He's got a shot on him, Jack.
See, what's fascinating is that, so when I think about Gareth Bale, I think about this physical guy can drive at you with the ball. He's got a powerful left foot. When I think of Nico, I think it's like this 5'9" guy, really short guy.
He's 6'1".
But I think back to that video. What video was it? I think it was
the quiz. The quiz.
Liverpool quiz. The tallest Liverpool player, like of a couple of players. And Nico was like, I think, top of the list you had given us. He was like 6'1", and that stunned me. And I was joking in my head. I was like, well, he's a tiny guy. But I'm watching this Wales game as well on the other screen. And maybe, who knows? Like maybe he could do it. But I think it's such an easy comparison, both Welsh. So I think it's a bit foolish. I think that him playing on the left wing back is very interesting though. It can definitely help his development for Liverpool, developing a strong left foot. I think we see with Robertson is that he does not want to put it on his right foot, and that just makes him very weak. I think every player should be regularly training to be like as dual-footed as they can be. So, you know what? If I think he's needed at right back as a backup, but if we can develop and if we have a Gareth Bale in the works, I mean, am I going to say no? I'm not going to say no. And maybe you can do it.
Drew, I mean, I'm going to say this now. Jurgen Klopp likes players with versatility. When Nico Williams has played further forward this season, e.g. against Norwich and against Preston, he very much impressed. Could it be a future position for him, Drew? Could it?
I mean, as you said, Jurgen Klopp likes versatility, and he has been throwing him in on late in the games, and he's been doing well. I'm happy to see it because he had a terrible last year or so. I think it was after we played Arsenal in the Community Shield, and Aubameyang just absolutely left him for dead. Looked like he took his confidence away, and it was going to never return. But yeah, the Euros were dodgy for him as well. I felt really bad because he had such promise when he first came into the scene, and it just looked like his confidence was completely shot. But I remember Trent had a similar incident with Marcus Rashford, where he still recalls in interviews to this day where Rashford, took him on, scored 2 goals and 1 for United, and Trent was like, never again, and used that as motivation. it looked like Williams after the Euros just found another gear, found his confidence, and just found the battle to keep going. So I really want to see him get more games for Liverpool, because I believe as Jack was saying that, type of player who's got hunger. Like, I feel like that's for me the most important quality you want in a player, is a guy who's hungry for games, who's hungry to perform at his best and make a true, career of himself. And seeing Nico tap into that and really wanting to play more and having confidence in himself again. Yeah, throw him in wherever on the pitch, because we need workers who can put in a shift. So
Absolutely.
love to see him.
We'll get ridiculed for this, by the way. I mean, I'm happy to clip this and put this anywhere. I genuinely think, why the hell can't he be the next Gareth Bale? I'm putting that out to everyone who's watching this stream, who sees this clip. I'm going to clip this and put this on Twitter. Why can't he be the next Gareth Bale? I am fully behind Nico Williams.
He's pretty slow, isn't though, Chris?
No, he's rapid. He's rapid, Drew.
Rapid? Gareth Bale rapid, though? Or I'll go Owen. Is he that fast?
I don't think he can play in a back four. I really don't think he can play the fullback in a back four. I think he's much more suited to a back five, where he's got that support defensively, and he can kind of go forward, but then at the same time can kind of do a bit of defending. I think that would suit him a lot more.
I mean,
If we go back three,
the argument for Gareth Bale, though, is at 17 years old, he played 38 matches for a Southampton team in the Championship. Moved to Tottenham at 18, so it's like at that point he was making serious waves, at that young age. And I'm not saying his career's done and buried, but like Nico's made 13 competitive appearances for Liverpool in the league at least. So it's like there's just a very big contrast in terms of how much first team football we've seen from Bale versus we've seen from Nico Williams. I think he's got it in his locker. I would be stunned if he was able to really become that level of. I mean, Gareth Bale level expectations is super high. Even if he was a competent backup, I would be still pretty stunned.
I think, if there's any system, and I think Owen rightly pointed out about the back four issue. If there's any system that he can be a fullback in, it's Liverpool's system, because of the way that the fullbacks play. They bomb forward, maybe they leave. And if you've got a Virgil van Dijk next to you, it's a lot different than if you have a Nat Phillips next to you, for example. Don't get me wrong, I love Nat Phillips, but he's not Virgil van Dijk. And you know what? Who knows? Talking of another young youth player who's had a bit of a struggling time, the namesake of Nico Williams, Reece Williams, came in at the back end of last season. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. Again, in the back end of last season, obviously, I think he played second fiddle to Phillips, but he was fantastic. And he struggled on loan at Swansea City. He's only played 4 matches for them, and he's really not impressed. Jack, are you surprised, and do you think that he should come back to Liverpool to further his development?
I mean, it's not a stunner. I don't think that he's in a system with weaker players that doesn't have much protection for him in terms of the talent around him. Chris, I'm not sure like the style in which he plays at Swansea.
It's pretty football. It's like possession based.
Okay, so and that is always going to test him. He's not a guy who proved that he was brilliant playing out of the back last year. So I think that it was demanding a lot of him. And he's 20, and we've seen with Van Dijk, sometimes players don't come onto the scene and succeed right away. Sometimes it takes a little while. I think you always benefit from playing football more than not. I think you need to be on the pitch, getting better in matches. But I think that maybe the championship was a bit too high a level for him. I think maybe that's just the reality of that right now. I'm not sure what his potential is. It's hard, maybe harsh to say. I'm not sure his potential is that high. I'm happy to be proven wrong. But I just think that it's not surprising that he's had a bit of a struggle.
It's a bit harsh, Jack.
I think it's harsh. Like it is harsh. But I just think that, you look at, he's not the quickest. He's not brilliant from out of the back. Positionally, he's all right. Like he's just all right. He doesn't scream that kind of level of talent. Maybe it's harsh, but
yeah. I mean, I think he has got Premier League potential. I think he will be a Premier League player. But you know what? He just needs to. I think he's strong. I think he can pass a ball, like not amazingly, but he can pass a ball enough. But Drew, what are your thoughts on Reece Williams struggling?
I lean more towards Jack's opinion, to be honest. When totally write him off now. I mean, 20 years old. Let's see where he's at. Maybe 23. He definitely needs to fill out a little more. Maybe get more experience because, as Jack said, his pace is certainly not his strong suit. So he needs to be positionally on point. But I know Jamie Carragher made a whole career off being, one of the best, tactical readers of the game. So I feel like that's more where he's got to fall in line too, because Carragher also wasn't known for his passing. But if Reece can really just focus on defending and get that best of abilities, I feel like that's the best way he can go, because he's got a lot against him. So we'll see.
Yeah. And just a positive note, I mean, Owen, we've been talking today about Harvey Elliott, Curtis Jones, Nico Williams, and Reece Williams. 4 players who've come through the academy. I mean, Elliott slightly obviously came from Fulham, but it's positive for us to be talking about these players as if they're in and around the first team.
Yeah, definitely. I think any youth players are always really positive to see in and around playing first team football for Liverpool. I think some of the fans don't really like it when it's kind of the homegrown sort of players. They kind of want to see the Brazilian flair, whatever, with the Ineos on the end of their names. You know what I mean? But it's decent. That's all you can say, really.
And let's not forget, players are coming through this season. Gordon,
constantly.
Tyler Morton. How impressive is Tyler Morton been? I mean, it's a complete change of subject, but Drew, how impressed have you been with Tyler Morton? I mean, he's probably going to be on the bench again on Saturday. He's really impressed me.
Yeah, I think, as Owen said, like, any youngster coming in is great. And yeah, just to I think the excitement too is like you don't really know about them. Whereas like with other players, you can always like look them up, like check some YouTube videos, see some highlights and some compilations. So you kind of get an idea and have some expectations built around what you think they should be bringing to the team. But with the youngster, I know the media has been brought up, and you get a little more glimpse of what they can do, but still it's like that fresh young, can they do it at the first level? We're getting the first looks on this, so really amazing to see youngsters like Morton come up.
Yeah, I mean, Jurgen Klopp said that the only way Morton can get better, he's got a brilliant football brain, but he needs to get in the gym. Do you think that might be a bit of a common theme with most like youngsters? They're all developing into men, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, these are like young guys who they're just young. You get bigger, you get stronger. I don't want to say you get faster. You get more physically mature as you get older.
Exactly.
And
get massive like me.
Yeah, exactly. They need to be as strong as you, Chris. I think that, and that just takes time, because they're going to be playing against guys who are older than them, who are more developed, and you can't just toss them in there and expect them to succeed, because the aspects of his game that do flourish, his reading the game, his IQ, is hamstring, is held back by, I don't know why I would say hamstring. There's some holding back process of, if he isn't able to be physically as competitive. If he goes in for a challenge, he might come out like, wow, that was quite painful, because he is quite bigger than me. So I think that really it's just a case of a bit of development, bit of maturity from him. I believe that it just makes sense time-wise. Time will continue to develop him, no doubt.
Yeah, definitely. So moving on to some more transfers before we head off. The Reds have been linked with Dennis Zakaria, Owen, a Swiss midfielder. I mean, he's not great, but the flag's a huge plus. Sorry. Anyway, Dennis Zakaria. Sorry. What are your thoughts on Dennis Zakaria, Owen?
I really like him. I saw him in the Euros. He's kind of a sit-in defensive midfielder, and I definitely think he could be useful at Liverpool. I don't know how much he would cost, again, which is a big problem. But yeah, I think he's fairly young. Definitely can be kind of developed into our sort of system. And yeah, I definitely like to see him, but it obviously depends on the price and depends on what other midfielder options there are out there.
Hopefully better than my puns, Jack?
Yes, I think he's an interesting player. I think that it makes a lot of sense. I mean, his experience, his age, everything makes sense. And I think that as a defensive midfielder, yeah, he's a defensive midfielder. I think that he's pretty versatile as well. So I think that really, and he could be cheap as well. He'd be cheap because on a contract in the summer. So I think that either you sign him on a free, or you make him a smaller offer and say like, no, this or nothing. it'll be nice cover. I've always said that we need someone who can kind of relieve Fabinho, and not just Henderson or Thiago or Curtis as a holding six. Someone who can actually back him up and provide a similarly controlling function in midfield. That kind of replacement or backup, I think, is very important.
Yeah, and he's young. I mean, I'd say like 6 is really the only position we don't have like a direct backup in.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think that should be a priority in the summer, Drew, or do you think, or even in January, or do you think there's other positions which really need sorting?
I think there's other positions that really need sorting. I think that transfer it seems to make a lot of sense, and if we could get him on a free, that'd be a really easy and a really great signature. So I'd definitely pursue that if that's there. He's also a big dude. He's 6'3", I think, or 6'1" or 6'3". He's had a long run of games. He's young. Like, all of that bodes well. So if it's easy, I feel like that's one of those easy signatures that, if we sign him, everybody'd be stoked, but we'd still be looking for, bigger positions and bigger holes to fill.
Black Hammer. We haven't seen Black Hammer in ages, have we, Jack?
He's an OG. He's an OG. I think we were there for the first stream.
Back in the day, man.
Yeah.
I was in like the first one. My guy. Hope you're back in the streams as regularly, man. We'll talk more about another transfer before we head off. Franck Kessie has openly admitted now that he doesn't want to sign a contract at AC Milan. The signing on fee scares me. I don't know. I don't even know. Is his agent Raiola? If his agent's Raiola, it's not going to happen. But Owen, what are your thoughts if we could get in Franck Kessie?
Look, to be honest, all these transfers are just kind of like crazy. It's like, yeah, how many are we going to be linked to? How many players are we actually going to sign? But yeah, I think I saw a while back reports that we were like, fans wanted us to swap Thiago with him, which I just thought was absolutely stupid. But I thought, yeah, I think if you can get him for a decent price, obviously you just said then he's kind of fallen out of favour at AC Milan. But yeah, if we can get him in for cheap or free, even better, then yeah, I'll definitely go ahead with that because we are kind of short on midfield options. But I think midfield, we kind of need one midfielder, but then I think we could do with maybe one or even two forwards. So I would kind of prioritise a forward over a midfielder. I don't know if that would be controversial or not, but that's what I'd do personally if I was Jurgen Klopp.
Chris, to follow up on the agent thing, he's according to Transfer Market at least, he's owned by not owned, but he's works with Ambition Group Sport Management, who have 3 clients, including him. One other one being Jonathan Italang and Junior Dande, who
at least it's not Raiola. It's not Raiola.
Yeah, so I think that he's another one that would be cheap. I think that I agree, Owen. I think a forward option is more important because I think we have a lot.
Whisper it, Jared Bowen. Go on.
Jared Bowen makes sense. I said it in the summer. Jared Bowen made sense. It still makes sense.
Everyone's coming to this. Like, we got slated in the summer, didn't we?
The Bowen bus has come and gone. The Bowen bus left. They cannot get on the bus anymore.
It's only fulfilled by, I mean, Owen's from the same area as me, and he's from our hometown. Owen, he's from Hereford, so we got to back him.
No brainer then.
Oh, he's frozen. Or have I frozen? I've frozen.
I think you're cutting in and out, Chris.
Happy days. But anyway, anything else we want to cover before we head off, boys?
I think Kessie and Zakaria would be 2 tremendous signings. Even one of them. I think that they both make sense. Both would be cheap.
Is anyone concerned with the Serie A aspect of it? I feel like we haven't had a player from Serie A in ages, and haven't always done well.
Who was the last one, Drew?
Was it Kelly?
Mo Salah. That's
oh my god! All right,
don't
touche.
Be concerned about the Serie A, mate. Don't be concerned.
You know what? That's fair.
See, my mind went all the way back to Aquilani. That's where I was thinking. So,
look, I don't think leagues are that important. I'm never of the opinion that the league. I think it's all about the profile of the player.
I mean, if it's like League 2, I'm kind of like not in the vibe. But if it's or even the Championship, I mean, we saw with Ben Davis last season. Oh yeah, Alisson as well. I completely forgot about Alisson. Another one from the Serie A. We've actually got Alisson with us today in the bottom left.
I'll have to grow my hair out. Maybe for Halloween next year. I'll get that going.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be able to do that. We've got the whole crew. with us. But yeah, I think that's a good place to end it. Thank you very much to Jack, to Drew, and to Owen for joining me. It's been great fun just to chat transfers, chat the academy, chat injuries as well. Make sure to follow us all on Twitter. Make sure to subscribe to the channel as well. Get us to 1.6k. Share us with your friends, your family. Subscribe on your second accounts. Get your bots on us. That's what we want to see. Make sure you subscribe and make sure you follow these boys on Twitter.